Because today's a Wes Anderson movie, and Parvati can introduce what we watched.
Yeah, I wanted us to talk about the Grand Budapest Hotel because I absolutely love this movie.
Why do you want to be a lobby boy?
Who wouldn't? At the Grand Budapest, sir.
And I just feel like this is one of those movies that universally everyone that I know who has seen it loves it and just has so much to say about it. So I just wanted us to like talk about the stuff that we personally love about it and reasons why people who haven't seen it must watch this movie. But yeah, what are your guys's like what were your guys's like first experiences watching it and like your opinions and stuff? How did it go?
uh, Ladies first, or should I
No, you
fight
should go
the
first because I
matriarchy?
completely forgot the first time I've watched it. 1 second, let me go back
Okay,
into my
awesome. So
brain.
I can just get into my whole Wes Anderson spiel right now. So like,
Sure.
for Wes Anderson films, it's really interesting. So I don't like them that much when I first watch them. That goes back
Oh.
to Moonrise Kingdom, and that goes back to this film. And I've only seen Fantastic Mr. Fox once, and I'd also give that like a 3.5 to 4 stars. But that's not me not liking it. That's me liking the movies. But yeah, Grand Budapest didn't really blow me away when I first watched it back in like 2015. I think I watched it during that awards season, so it would have been the year after it came out. Um, but yeah, I already seen Moonrise Kingdom before then, and I thought that one was also fine because I hadn't seen that again.
Oh, I
So
love
like
Moonrise.
I just liked it. I liked his style. I thought it was quirky, but it didn't really blow me away. I didn't really appreciate it as much as I do now. And yeah, so this is my third time watching it now. The second time was only like a year and a half ago, and that's when I was like, oh wait, this movie actually is amazing. I think his this is peak Wes Anderson, as I've said before on this podcast when we were talking about 2014 films. And I think all his movies have seemingly built up to this one. um, it's like I can see his style, especially watching Royal Tenenbaums. I can see where he's like dropping hints of like where he wanted to go as a filmmaker, and I think he finally achieved that with this film. It's not my personal favorite of his, but I appreciate it for like being a peak of a director's vision because it is so well crafted of a film. It's well acted. Like the thing, I wouldn't call his films like super well acted, but they hit the tone that they need to because everyone on board just seems like they're having fun. And that's why I think a lot of actors want to work with him because it's just like really fun to play his characters. And like that, I think that's such a great watching experience because it's like you can tell they had fun making this film. And yeah, that's basically my general thoughts of it. I mean, it's great. I think it's his a masterpiece of his, maybe his magnum opus, but not my personal favorite. I know some people don't like that. It's like you can't have a favorite and think one is better than the other, but you know,
That's not true.
yeah.
You can totally do it. 'Cause I
Okay.
agree.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
um, the first time, I think it was my first Wes Anderson film. Oh wait, no, Fantastic Mr. Fox. Yeah. Okay, so maybe it was my second one, but it definitely got me into like Wes Anderson's films for sure. Cause I mean, it's hard to like talk about. I feel like mainly my thoughts are, I mean, it's just beautiful, but also really funny and fun. That's how I describe his films, and it's just all around an enjoyable time. And yeah, that's pretty much to sum it up how I feel about Wes Anderson. I love his style of directing and all of his films. I've seen a lot of them. There's only a couple I haven't seen, I believe. But yeah.
That's cool. I think I watched Grand Budapest. So Grand Budapest was the first like Wes Anderson thing I've seen. I've only seen two things by him, which is sad, but I'm
Whoa.
really
Oh,
excited.
oof.
I know.
Sorry, you're not a
But
film
I'm
student if you've
really
only
Yeah.
seen two Wes Anderson films.
oops. But I'm really excited to see the rest of his stuff because I just feel like there are little gems that I'm just waiting to come across. But yeah. Grand Budapest was the first thing that I had seen of his. And I think I saw it in like 2017, I believe, for the first time. And I had the same thing where like I watched some of it and I wasn't really into it because I think I just didn't understand the style at the time too. And I don't know, something about it was kind of like unsettling to me. So I didn't watch it the whole way through. And then I watched it again, I think a year later. And then I really liked it, but I couldn't really understand why I liked it so much. It was just like so fast paced and like interesting and funny, and it was just like so intriguing to me. And then I watched it again, and I was like, wait, this is actually really good. And yeah, and then I recently watched Fantastic Mr. Fox too, which was really cool. And I can see it being like the him like rising to his status of what Great Grand Budapest like brought to him too. But yeah, it's Grand Budapest is just like one of those movies that I feel like every single time I watched, I notice something different that makes me love it so much more because there's so much of detail that gets put into it, that gets put into like the effort of creating this super like artful looking, beautiful piece that I absolutely love and have a good time seeing every single time. And yeah, what are you guys' like? Did you have any like specific things you guys want to talk about with this movie or like?
Wait,
scenes
did
that
you like
guys liked?
Fantastic Mr. Fox? Did you like?
I did like it a lot actually. I had such a good time watching it.
Okay.
It was really fun.
I need to watch that again because I wasn't that blown away. Well, as I've said
Really,
before.
I love Fantastic Mr.
I know a lot of
Fox.
people say
Yeah.
that's their favorite
It's such
Wes
a-
Anderson film.
It's. I mean, I feel the way that I feel about Wes Anderson's films are they're such like wholesome watches, even though like the content in it is not very wholesome.
Yeah.
But it's the type of movie that I would just put on if I'm like in need of a pick me up, and they're just always just so great and perfect for that, and I love it. And that's like I feel like Fantastic Mr. Fox is like the most that. It's just so beautiful. I love it.
I think there's a lot of nostalgic connection to Fantastic Mr. Fox that I think I just missed out on by not watching it as a kid. But I actually, in contrast to all of the other Wes Anderson films I've seen, I really loved Isle of Dogs when I first watched it. That blew me away. But that's the only one I've seen in theaters, so I think
I
that
haven't
might
seen
have a
any of
factor.
his in theaters.
Same.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
So
French
it'd be-
Dispatch, bro.
it'd be quite the experience to see him in theaters, especially like
Oh
just
yeah.
the way he commands the screen, especially in this film. I mean, everyone talks about the aspect ratios changing, and that's just so great. Even on like a TV, it's such a cool experience seeing the aspect ratio change depending on the time period. I want to touch on something Emma said right now because I found it pretty interesting. It's you said all his films are like wholesome, even though they are not in their content in a way. Yeah, and that's interesting because like
Completely how I feel.
yeah, while I was watching Grand Budapest this time, I just realized how amazing the story is, even without, like, if you just stripped away his style and you just told the story, it's a pretty dark story. But also, I think it would still be a great film, even if it was in the hands of a less experienced filmmaker. That's how strong I think the story was. But, yeah, the ending to this film is actually pretty sad and dark, and I think that relates to a lot of themes of nostalgia. And I think the framing story, even though it's like a Wes Anderson style trope, to frame his stories as like a book, it works for this film because I think it's all about calling back to a time before, and how the Grand Budapest is kind of like a symbol of the past in a way, and just even though it's kind of cheesy, it's like we've just gone through 3 narrators before we've even met M. Gusteau. By the end, it's like, oh wow, it all just came back to me, and I really enjoyed the ending this time. When I didn't actually like it the second time, I'm like, oh, that's kind of sad. And it didn't leave me with a good feeling after such a fun time of a film. But I think that makes the film even better, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that too because the thing that I noticed when I was watching Fantastic Mr. Fox was that like it definitely felt like a filmmaker who was used to making like adult content, but they were making it for a child and for adults. So I really enjoyed like the mix of his kind of humor in trying to like mix those two together. And yeah, it's just done like so smartly, which I think it's just so fun to watch. And I think that adds to the humor of it too, is like you have to do a little bit of like thinking to understand his humor sometimes too. Or just like with the language that he uses, it's just so interesting and fun to watch. But I agree with what you said too. Like when I first watched it too, I didn't really understand the ending, and I was like, why did I sit and watch this whole story to like have it end this way? But at the same time, like I think it's changed with my taste in movies too. Of like if it had ended like on a more happy note or like something that was like more positive, I think it would have felt like a cheap ending, like something that it didn't really deserve in the end. It wouldn't have felt as real. So I admire the way that the story actually went too. But yeah, I also wanted to say like yeah, like it's really like a story within a story within a story almost. Like you have to dig a little bit deeper. There's like 3 different aspect ratios that takes place before you actually like see what's actually going on in the story too. And even within that, it's another story. So I think that's just so cool. And it's just done so. I think something I really like about Wes Anderson films is that it's done very straightforward. So you understand everything that's going on an immediate level. But once you take the time to like, so you watch it the first time through, you understand the immediate story. Then you watch it a second time through. You start to notice like all the little details he puts in to like add so many more layers to everything else too, which is so pretty. And it just feels like a very intricate painting that you're watching in the end. Like to me, like all of his films feel like this very big, yeah, just like a piece of art that you can literally just like break down every single square inch of and figure out what's going on and why all of this stuff is put together. It's so fun. I love it so much. But yeah.
I like one detail I really liked, just on this watch that I noticed. Boy with Apple can be seen before you even get to like the main flashback story, which is just a nice touch. I think it just wraps everything in a nice little bow.
Apparently, there's a lot of spots where there's like newspapers and things in the movie. Apparently, a lot of the lines, like the headlines on the newspaper, spoil the rest of the movie, which I did not know. Like, if you can actually go in and like, if you can go in and like read any of the headlines, a lot of them like spoil little bits of the movie here and there. And like in the very beginning, apparently it spoils the entire movie. Like it basically boils down the entire plot line into a headline, which is so cool.
Solid. I love that.
Oh, is it like immigrant boy claims fortune? Is that, because I remember that was one.
I think it's something like that. I think so.
Oh, gotcha.
I remember seeing that, and I'm like, oh, okay. Because you kind of forget about it though, because Jude Law's part, even though it's such a small part, I really enjoyed every time they cut to him and the older Zero. I like Jude Law's character being the younger author. It's like you saw him as an adult already, and how he's kind of like lost all his like faith in humanity. He's all mad at his kids.
Yeah.
But you can tell when he's younger, he's just full of interest in the world, and that's why he's like an author. And him like kind of being like an investigative character, going through like what happened with this hotel and why it's the way it is such a more interesting part to me that I found, especially during this viewing. And yeah, I liked all the details with the newspapers too. Like even back in the past, I remember there's that shot where it's like tanks at the border, and then it just pans down, and it's like the Tilda Swinton's character was killed. I'm gonna refer to characters by the actors' names.
Yeah,
honestly,
it's just easier.
Yeah. Yeah, but like also like another detail that I noticed this time around too was that well, I think it's like something you can tell the entire time when you are watching it anyways, but it's like, so Mr. Gustav's character was played by Ray Fiennes. Is that how you say it?
Isn't it Ray Fiennes?
Ray
Fiennes. Okay, I have struggled saying his name for so long.
Voldemort?
But Voldemort. Yeah, his character is just so his character obviously is like, it feels like it's the main the story is told in a way so that he is the protagonist, but of course the real protagonist is Zero telling his story. But his character is just so interesting because his main character trait is that he represents the Grand Budapest basically, because he used to just run the whole place too. And I think this time around watching it, I could really tell the extent to which he brings the Grand Budapest like energy everywhere he goes. Mm-hmm. So like especially like when he's in jail and things too, like he's like just like rolling this little cart of food to everyone, and he's like, oh, would you like a plate of mush? Like he's like brings us hospitality in jail, which like doesn't really happen, and it's just so interesting. And one little detail that I noticed too was that at some point in the film he's like speaking to someone to write like a letter to Zero at the Grand Budapest so that he can like read it to the employees, right? And so Zero's like standing at the podium that says like, it has like the GB like logo on the podium, But then when you cut back to Mr. Gustav in jail, his podium in jail has the same GB like logo on it. So he like literally brings the Grand Budapest to him like through the production design too, which is so cool to me. And even when they finally do escape like jail too, like you know how there's the part where he like blows up at Zero for like forgetting all of these things, and then he apologizes because he realizes that he's actually like a refugee. And the way that he apologizes is literally on behalf of the Grand Budapest too, because he's like, this is below the standard of the Grand Budapest. So he doesn't consider himself separate from the Grand Budapest, which is so funny to me. And just like everything about him is so, it just like exudes like, this is like the Grand Budapest is me and I'm the Grand Budapest. And that's like the whole reason why Zero stays attached to the place too. Just so, so well done. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, a line I found interesting at the end is when the older Zero was talking with Jude Law about the Grand Budapest, and Jude Law asks him if he like keeps this place in memory of Gustav, and he says no, it's for Agatha. I found that really interesting. It's like, oh, what? I'm like, who? It's just like a conflicting line for me, but I think I think everyone finds their own solace with the Grand Budapest, and it's something like that. It's like everyone goes to it for something in the past. Like there's a longing for it, and I love the themes of nostalgia in this movie. I think you touched on that pretty well there. Emma, hello.
Hi. I know. I'm sorry.
Do we just want to move into segments, or I want to talk about the cast of characters too?
It's like it's hard for me
Sure.
to like frame words around. Like I don't know. It's so weird for some reason.
That's okay.
Because
That's okay.
it's funny because during our like Oscar discussion of 2014 films, you were like, I feel like Grand Budapest
I love
was like,
Grand Budapest, and I love Wes Anderson so much. It's just like so. It's hard for me to like talk about because I just feel like everyone's already said so much about exactly why, or everyone's already put into words what I would say towards his films. Because like of course Grand Budapest, I mean obviously the story is incredible and I love the story, and like but visually it's just probably one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. And if I say it a lot about different types of films, but if I could take a film and frame every single moment of it and put it on my wall, this is the one movie that I would do that to. But and I just but when I don't know if I can like frame words about anything for some reason right now. But yeah.
yeah, every like set and every like location in this film seems so like intricately crafted. Like they took time for every specific moment, and that's quite an impressive feat from the filmmakers. Let's talk about the characters. So
okay, cool.
No, yeah, during the Oscar discussion, you said you would give Ray Fiennes a nomination. I think
I would. I really love his character. The movie just feels like all the actors had the most fun they've ever had while making it, because they just put everything into the characters, is the way that I feel while I'm watching it, because he's just like, he goes for it. In scenes where he's doing something silly, he goes all out, and he can like do something, like when he's running away from the camera that one time. It's so funny when he's running. But it's just, he puts all of it in, and I feel like all the actors though do as well. They just are so great. But I love Ray Fiennes' character in it so much.
I know I said that everyone hits the marks, but yeah, I would say that the two lead performances, especially Tony Revolori, I can't say his name, and Ray Fiennes.
Revolori.
Whatever.
Yes.
I apologize, Tony. Love you, man. So those two performances, I think they bounce off each other so great. It's kind of like a buddy cop in a way, or like a master, like apprentice type of like relationship, and it carries the entire film, I think. But to your like point, I feel like some performances, like I'll give them a pass because it's just like, you know, I know they're having fun with it, but I just feel like they're in the movie just to be in the movie a lot of the time. That's kind of a detriment, but I think it's fun to watch. Like people like Owen Wilson are just in it for like 2 seconds.
But he
and,
gives
like,
his all. I love him.
I mean, I saw Roy Tenenbaums, and he was amazing in that film.
I
So it was
love
kind
him
of
in
like a
that.
downgrade
I
to just
love
see him
him.
in 2 scenes
So
in this
good.
movie.
Dang.
Well, no, I saw your
But
review. You
he
said you
needed
loved
to
his
be there.
energy in Royal Tenenbaums.
Oh, I love his. I want to have his energy. If I could be anyone,
Like on drugs all the time,
yeah,
essentially.
no. But I wish. I want to read what I wrote because I framed it so well in my review, but now I can't remember what I said. Let me find it real quick. But I just love him in Royal Tenenbaums. Where is it?
Parv, do you have anything to say about the 2 lead performances while we wait for Emma's dissertation? on
Oh,
Owen
yeah.
Wilson and-
I thought I was looking up like fun facts before this podcast to see like if I could bring up anything interesting from like the actual production, and it's crazy to me that Ralph Fiennes was not the first person to be considered for the role too. Like the first person to be considered was Johnny Depp, actually, and I just I
He's
thought
kinda
that
young,
would have brought such a
honestly.
different vibe to the whole movie. Like it would have felt very, very different. And I think I definitely wouldn't have enjoyed it the same way just because of the way that Ray Fiennes does it is so like matter of factly and clean. And so he brings so much like attitude to it without being like overacting or anything. And I feel like a Johnny Depp performance would have brought a lot more like, I don't know, kind of like mystery and like darkness to the role that
Okay,
I
the
don't
thing
think
about
is
Johnny
needed.
Depp, I feel like he's been typecast into that Jack Sparrow role, and I feel bad for him, where he has to like play this like weird eccentric character from now on for the rest of his life. I feel like he's a much more talented actor than that, but he's just kind of been placed in this box. He's been Rick Dalton essentially, and yeah, that's interesting though. I actually don't see him as I totally agree. Ray Fiennes is definitely probably the
love Ray
best
Fiennes.
person who could have done it. Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of want to see the Johnny Depp cut now, though.
I do not want to see the Johnny Depp cut. I would.
Obviously, I prefer the cut we have now, but there's just a universe out there where Johnny Depp is the lead of the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah. No, but the thing is, Ray Fiennes wasn't even the second choice either. He was like,
Oh, wow.
like way down the line. So there was actually a couple people that were like considered before him, and I'm just like really surprised because I felt like he just embodied the character so much better than anybody else really could have. Like I literally cannot imagine anybody else like performing it the same way that he could have, or really. And I feel like that's what made the movie too, because if somebody had done it differently, it would have felt like a completely different tone that didn't go as well.
Do you have any other names?
Yeah.
Do you have any of the other
I do
actors?
actually. Hold on.
Oh, okay. This will be
Find
fun.
it.
Okay, we'll go off a scale of better choice than Johnny Depp or a worse choice than Johnny Depp. So.
Oh my gosh.
Emma, do you have your review of Owen
Oh
Wilson?
yeah, it's. I remember now exactly what I meant, but I just said I aspire to have as much energy that Owen Wilson had in the movie. Just like he's so high energy all the time, partially because of the drugs, but I think a lot because of his personality. But whether that's just him as an actor in it or his character, I just want to have that much energy all the time. I wish.
I think
just peak energy.
I think it's also a great contrast with like all the other Tenenbaum characters who are like so depressed,
exactly.
and he's just like so positive about everything.
I know. I love Royal Tenenbaums. It's probably, I mean, oh no, that's so hard because I love Moonrise Kingdom as well.
Okay.
I love early Wes Anderson. Like obviously I love Grand Budapest, and I agree. I think it's arguably his best film, but I just love the early Wes Anderson. It feels way more, I mean, I guess it feels way more indie, which is gross, but it does feel like that.
I can see that. How many have you seen? Like
A lot. The only one I haven't seen is, I have a list here.
Let me pull up my list.
I haven't seen, Bottle Rocket, and I haven't seen the
Darlinging Limited or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't seen those two, but I've seen all of his
I wanna
other
see that one
films
next.
and short films, so...
Oh, so have you seen the Bottle Rocket short film?
I have, yeah.
That's cool.
I'm excited to see the actual Bottle Rocket, because
So you've
I've
technically
only...
seen like his first ever like work that it's been
Yeah,
put out
I've
there.
seen a lot, the only other... I haven't seen Castello Cavalcanti, which is one of his other...
Is that the
like,
Jason
short
Schwartzman
films.
Italian driver one?
Yes, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah,
But
I was going
besides
through the
that, I've
Letterbox list.
All of it.
you've seen like all the Moonrise Kingdom short films, and I really want to
I
watch
love
those.
the Moonrise Kingdom short films because Ed Norton. But
Norton.
Okay, yeah, Ed Norton is so like I feel like he's such a serious actor, but for Wes Anderson films, he like brings this like jolly energy to it, which
I
is
know.
really interesting to me.
it's just I love
Oh my god.
they, like I said earlier, there's, and what you said, like it's so nostalgic, even though I haven't like I didn't watch them in my childhood. I watched them quite recently, but they just somehow like feel very nostalgic films. And
I think it's because they
love-
touch on themes of nostalgia and childhood.
Yeah, definitely. And I just love the storybook style of all of his films, whether that be visually or by the actual storytelling. And I just love, I think it just depends on my mood, honestly, what my favorite of his is, because one day I could be like, oh, Moonrise Kingdom, I love it, I love that movie so much, but then the next day I could be like, oh, but the Royal Tenenbaums is just so well done, and that one scene that's just like the whoa scene, but I don't like spoiling things, so I won't say anything.
Oh, I don't. What's the woe scene? I can't. Okay.
You
never
don't
mind.
like that
Sorry.
scene? That
No, I don't
blew
know
me
what the woe
away.
scene is.
Oh,
I don't know what the
okay.
what's the woe
I thought-
scene.
It's like, I can't describe it without saying
Yeah, don't
what
describe
is,
it.
so never mind. But there's just some really shocking moments, and it's great. I also just love the character
Oh, I think I
dynamics.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I love
Dang,
that.
dude, that's tough. Yeah.
That's the crazy. I have never felt that like shocked by a movie ever. Actually,
Oh, really?
That's not true.
Okay, if I wait,
in-
are we think if I say a word, will you get it? If I say
Yeah.
like blue, do you
Yes.
understand what scene? Okay,
I know exactly
cool.
what you're talking
So
about.
if you've
It's
seen
that
Royal
scene.
Tenenbaum, we're talking about the blue scene.
The blue scene. But it's just, wow. And also I just love the character dynamics in the Royal Tenenbaums. I'm not a big fan of my brain.
You're not a
Uh,
big fan of your brain?
Yes. No, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, but it's good. I like it visually. I hate Rushmore, which is unpopular, but I really don't like.
interesting.
I really don't like Rushmore.
I feel like I thought you would
Can't
like that one because
stand
that
the
I feel like that's his most
characters.
indie film. I feel like that's I haven't seen Bottle Rocket. I would assume that's his most indie, and then he's just getting a little bit more stylistic.
I don't like the main character, and I don't think you're supposed to. Actually,
Okay.
I know you're not, but because I don't like him so much, it actually ruins the process of watching it for me. So that's the only Wes Anderson film I dislike so far. So
Okay.
that's pretty good. Because, like,
That's
Isle
a
of
pretty good
Dogs,
track
Fantastic
record.
Mr. Fox, Moonrise Kingdom, Royal Tenenbaums, even The Life Aquatic, I said I don't like it that much, but it's beautiful. And the ending, I love it. So, it's just all around. I love Wes Anderson very much.
Cool.
He's probably my favorite director, but
Oh,
I'm a
interesting.
quintessential film student.
I didn't actually know he was your favorite director.
He is.
Oh, I didn't know that either. I thought
don't know,
Taika
I really
Waititi was.
Oh shoot, yeah, you're right. But
Ah.
also another thing is Taika
Oh my!
Waititi.
Parvati's just been shutting Emma down, man. Last week when she
Waititi
said
and
Lord
Wes
of the Rings was
Anderson?
her favorite trilogy, and Parvati was like, actually.
Well,
And I-
no,
I
it's
feel like
my.
I gauged
No, I
different
didn't say
emotional
that
like.
is not true. Parvati, I said Lord of the Rings is arguably the best trilogy, and then you said
Okay,
your-
okay.
but it's not your favorite, which it's not my
Oh,
favorite.
got it.
But I think it's
Okay,
the best
okay.
trilogy. Okay. Also, likewise, Taika Waititi is my favorite director as a person. I love him
Okay,
as a
okay.
person, and he's my favorite director. I would love to have a chat with Taika Waititi. But if we're talking about like actual favorite director, I love Taika though. But no, I think I would have to go Wes Anderson. But I think Taika and Wes Anderson have very similar
Similar
styles,
vibes.
very similar vibes. and
Jojo Rabbit
styles.
was like a Wes Anderson film in a way.
Yeah, just taking a
Mm.
really dark topic but making it seem very like childlike on
Childlike.
the surface, but then also at the same time not trying to hide the dark stuff that's going on, which I love. I love that. And I think that's kind of funny that those are my two favorite directors and they're so similar, which is
No, that
great.
makes complete
So I
sense.
have
That
a
makes
similar
so much
style.
sense.
Yeah. I just love them. And likewise to Taika Waititi's films. I would love to take every shot in Jojo Rabbit and put it on my wall. Maybe I wouldn't. That would seem controversial.
Uh-oh. I'm sorry, that was hilarious.
I know. I wanted to, but no. There's like it's beautiful and.
Do you have a
I
swastika in your room, Emma? What is that?
Mm,
Oh,
what
this
is
is from
that?
Jojo Rabbit. Yeah, it's... Come on.
See, you know.
Oh,
No. But yeah. I don't know. I love Wes Anderson, and it was, I think, at the beginning of this year in January, I had a big Wes Anderson binge. That's when I watched all of the ones that I haven't seen of his, except for Bottle Rocket and The Darjeeling Unlimited. Sorry to those two, I haven't seen them. They're the hardest to find on like streaming, so it's their fault, not mine.
I think
yeah.
I think all his films are on Criterion. Wes
That
Anderson.
is true. I don't have Criterion.
Yeah, they're expensive. They'd be expensive.
Yeah. But yeah, I love Wes Anderson. So there's
Cool.
my spiel.
I'm
about
happy I got your
that.
spiel out. Yeah.
I know.
let's
I
go.
just
Yay.
love. I love.
I knew Emma was just like bottled up. Like she wasn't
I
saying
know, it's
anything, and I'm
hard.
like,
I don't know. I couldn't like verbalize what I wanted to say in my head, so I was kind of just sitting here. Maybe it's because of the heat, or maybe it's because like I'm slightly tired, but I just couldn't say anything. But now I got that out. I love Wes Anderson, and I really love his films.
awesome.
They're my
Right.
favorites.
We can take our detour
have
back
that
to
list.
Parvathi's list. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, I don't know how trustworthy this is because some places say that the Johnny Depp thing was a rumor, but some places say that it was real. So we can just take this with a grain of salt. So what we would, how we would think if these people were to be cast instead of Ray Fiennes.
Fun.
So this one site says after Johnny Depp turned down the part of Mr. Gustav, Robert Downey Jr., Sean Penn, Bruce Willis.
Wait, hold
and
on. Let's go.
Ben
Let's wait.
Bruce
Wait. Oh,
Willis.
I wanted you to go through them one at a time so I could just.
Okay.
I think
The
Wait,
Robert
who's
Downey Jr.
who's the first one? Robert. That's better than Johnny
Robert
Depp.
Downey Jr. Yeah.
For that
kind
role.
of.
No. Well, actually, I feel like they're pretty equal in my brain.
Really?
Just no. Yeah.
I feel like he'd do like his Sherlock Holmes act, but like a more polite version of that. Like he'd kind of have an accent on, but I don't know. Robert Downey Jr. is actually a really talented actor. Like Iron Man has kind of just become his persona in real life too. But
Yeah.
he has a range, especially with his earlier work and his kind of comeback since then. But yeah, that's an interesting choice. Definitely not as good as Ray Fiennes.
Yeah, no. I just couldn't see
And
that.
then the next one. Yeah. And then the next one was Sean Penn. What are our thoughts on Sean
Interesting.
Penn?
Sean
Let me-
Penn.
I think, you know, I can somewhat see it, but at the same time, somewhat not see it, you know? I
No,
feel like
that's a non-answer.
yeah, I feel like it would not be good, but it would
Yeah.
be better than Johnny Depp and also better than... Would it be better than Robert Downey Jr.? Yeah, I think it would be.
Okay.
But it would...
I think he would be like a little too intense for me.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Like,
I was
his
gonna
face is
say
too
that.
intense for the part.
I don't see him being
Yeah.
like the
But I
polite
also
hotel
feel
manager.
that... But I also feel that way with the other two as well. So that's why...
Really?
But
I feel like
less
Robert
so
Downey
with-
Jr. is a lot more, or gives
No,
off a
I don't
friendlier
think
vibe
so.
than.
I do not think
Oh.
so. I don't know. I just feel like...
Interesting.
Yeah, so far these very weird choices.
I know.
I'm not a big
Um,
fan right now. I'm glad we got Ray Fiennes.
Yeah. And then the next was Bruce Willis, which I see literally
Yeah.
zero. How would this happen?
Actually,
Well,
I
he's in
can see
Moonrise
it.
Kingdom, so he's worked with
Yeah.
Wes Anderson before,
Oh, okay.
and his disinterest in like movies nowadays kind of translates to that film, but in Moonrise Kingdom, but in like a good way, because his
Yeah.
character's kind of like, why am I on this island?
I love
But
this character in Moonrise.
yeah, I don't think his energy.
I don't think he matches the same. I don't think he would be as enthusiastic as Ray Fiennes would be. He's very...
But also, like, we have to consider maybe like the script would have also changed depending on the
true.
actor.
Maybe.
Oh,
I can
but I
see
like
that.
the script.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like the general plot points would be the same, but like the character beats would obviously be different.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be so much more bored if it was Bruce Willis. I don't know.
I
Sorry,
agree. I
Bruce.
feel like all the other actors as well on the list, I feel like it just wouldn't.
Hey, Robert Downey Jr. has experience now training like a younger version of himself in movies, so like
That's true.
that would translate fine
But at the time he didn't, or did he? When did? No.
2014. So Spider-Man was
Yeah,
not out
so he
yet,
was
but
on-
Iron
no,
Man
no.
was.
I don't have a timeline of Marvel movies in my head. For some reason, I just group them all together and just like,
They all came out
A
in the
year?
same year. It was the
Yeah.
Marvel year.
yeah, right? Isn't that correct? No. But yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I feel like I love like Ray Fiennes, so maybe I'm biased. I'm probably biased. I love Ray Fiennes.
I mean, the thing is, though, before I watched Grand Budapest, I felt like when I saw Ray Fiennes as like as Gustav, I was like, oh, I don't really know how I'm gonna feel about this because like I wasn't a huge fan of him before or anything too. So I was like, I feel like this could be okay. So I want to say that maybe these actors could have possibly done a good job too, but I just can't see it. Like I can't visualize it. But
Yeah, it's true,
the
'cause,
last
like-
person on the list was Ben Stiller.
Oh. Actually,
What were you thinking,
no.
JJ?
So, no, I was just thinking about Ray Fiennes' filmography. So, like,
I
at
know,
that
'cause
point, he's like
I was-
Voldemort, and he was in like Schindler's List. Right?
Schindler's List is what I was thinking. When I
Mhm.
went into the Grand Budapest, that's what I knew him from, was Schindler's List. And also Voldemort, but mainly, because obviously his performance in Schindler's List is amazing. But that's like, he has range. That's crazy. Because he can be, those are so, wow, he's so talented. So maybe I am biased. I really like Ray Fiennes. But yeah.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller, maybe he's the best choice. He just seems kind of young.
Yeah.
But he has the
My
Wes
man-
Anderson
Yeah, I
friendship
Ben
experience,
Stiller.
obviously. And I love Ben Stiller.
My mom
As
has met
Parvati
Ben
said.
Stiller
Awesome.
at a concert.
Wow.
He's really
Oh, that's
short.
cool.
Cool.
Was he attending the concert as like a guest, or was
Yeah,
he?
because my
Awesome.
mom was in the backstage because it's friends of ours, like family friend. But yeah, and also
That's
she
cool.
met Matthew Perry too. But that's random.
Ooh.
But that was the same night.
Awesome.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Ben Stiller would
What a cool
probably be
night.
the best choice as well. But at the same time, no.
He's probably better for like Owen Wilson's role or Jason Schwartzman's role. It's just,
Yeah.
like another
yeah,
concierge.
I agree. I
agree.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, also, Ed Norton. Our conversation about Ed Norton. I forgot to mention, but he was also in Birdman for 2014, and both of those movies, each like both Birdman and Grand Budapest, both had 9 Oscar noms each like that year. So he was like in
Good for
the
him.
golden movies of the year.
Good
yeah.
for him.
Well, that's like Scarlett Johansson this last year.
Oh yeah.
With,
Oh yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like,
hadn't thought
some
about that.
actors just know how to choose a project, man.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
Case in point, Saoirse Ronan's been hitting it out of the
Oh,
park. I feel like starting
was
from
waiting
this
to
to
movie.
talk about her, but I just couldn't find when the right time was to talk. But I just gotta say
love her.
this was at the start of my love for Saoirse Ronan. I saw this and I just was like, oh, I like her. And then I saw Lady Bird, and then I watched this again, and I was like, oh, yay, I love her. So it's great.
I had
feel like-
first seen her in City of Ember, and then I saw her in this, and I was like, wait, it's the girl from City of Ember. Because she was, like, tiny in City of Ember, and then I was like, wait, but she has, like, an Irish accent in this, because I didn't know anything about her at the time.
Oh,
And
I
then-
know.
I forgot she had an
Sorry.
accent. I thought she would be speaking in her American voice, but then when she spoke in this film, I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, that's awesome. She got to
I
speak.
know. I
No
love
one really changes
love
their
her.
accent in this movie, too. It's just so cool
Yeah,
to
that's
me,
just Wes
'cause it's
Anderson
like-
being like, just be yourself, honestly.
Yeah.
Except for the 2 leads. That's why I feel like they're playing pretty solid, like, performances
Yeah.
there with Zero and Gustav. I
Mhm.
feel like those
But I
are...
love Agatha.
Agatha's like a perfect person, and
She
it
is
makes
so
sense
perfect.
because it's told from the story of her husband, so he would
Yeah.
obviously project his
Oh,
wife
I
as
love
such.
Wow.
that. I
did
love
not think of it that
unreliable.
way.
I love unreliable narrators.
But it's like the
Yes.
most wholesome kind of unreliable
Yeah,
narrator.
exactly. Unreliable narrators don't have to be a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like that. I love that because I think it's more fun to tell a story like that because you can think about it in other people's perspectives because then she would completely
Yeah, she's actually like the most horrible person ever.
Yeah, what if she was? That's fun. That's fun to think about. And like he idolizes Mr. like Gustav, and what if he was horrible but that's cool. I love to think about that.
I like the way that it's shot also makes you feel like you're falling in love with her character too.
I know.
Like
yeah.
remember there's like a part where they're both on this like
Yeah, and the lights
The merry-go-round?
remember?
Oh
Beautiful.
yeah, that was
I love it.
Carousel's a
beautiful.
much better
Oh
word
my
than
God.
merry-go-round.
Specifically that shot on my wall, please.
Yes.
Oh, with the
yes,
lights?
I do.
Yeah.
I know, it's so beautiful. I love that.
Do they ever explain like why she has that birthmark?
No.
You know how she
Do
has
you
that,
need
like,
an
that, like,
explanation?
thing on
I
her
mean,
face?
it's a
Yeah.
birthmark.
No,
You're born
I was
with
just
it.
wondering.
Stop judging her.
It's a birthmark. That's the explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seemed like what because I was showing my sister the movie yesterday and she was like, "Why does she have that thing on her face?" And I was like, "I guess it's just a birthmark that she has."
That's
and
the
I was like
explanation.
thinking, I feel like, yeah, I just feel like most people, a lot of people, if they decide to have something bold like that show up, they have to explain it. But when it's left unexplained, it's kind of nice.
But
They
it
just
is
kind of
explained.
think
It's a birthmark. It's a
I guess.
stylistic
No, but not
choice
really.
to
They
give
don't
her
really
the
say it.
birthmark.
Oh yeah, I
True.
guess yeah.
True.
But like in the world, I mean, the explanation is it's a birthmark.
Oh wait,
hmm
it actually what is maybe
Is there a backstory
Oh.
that?
That's what I was wondering because I was like, did I miss something when I was watching it? I
someone
just
says
didn't
it
really-
looks like Mexico,
Yeah, it looks like Mexico.
and then people
Oh.
said that I guess someone was just, and I think this sums up what we're talking about. It's just about the curiosity and mystery and the little details in his films. It's never really like talked
Ah.
about, but yeah, it's, you know,
That's
yeah,
cute.
no one,
I like that.
no one's explained it, so.
Yeah, we could take a dive into the characters here and go into segments. Like, do we have other performances we want to shout out in this movie?
Yeah, I love Jeff Goldblum and Willem Dafoe.
Yes.
I love Willem Dafoe.
Yes.
Willem
I love both of
Dafoe.
them. Yet again, another perfect example of actors in this film just feel like I just feel like they had so much fun. Specifically Willem Dafoe because I just love any scene with them because it's so comical, but at the same time it is slightly intimidating, and I love it.
It is. Oh
It's
my gosh.
intimidating but hilarious, which is such an odd combination for when you're watching something, because it's two very conflicting emotions. And one of my friends, she recently watched this for the first time, and she was talking about how, especially like with his characters, but even like the story overall, she was talking about how the whole movie made her feel so conflicted constantly, but in the best way possible. But I think that his character is one of the best examples of that in this film. And then also just Jeff Goldblum being Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, he's being Jeff Goldblum, but that's awesome.
But who doesn't
Apartments.com,
want
dude.
that? Yeah, who doesn't?
I
want
loved
Jeff
him just
Goldblum?
explaining like the will scene. Like, oh,
I
I love a good will
Yeah.
scene reading, and he's just like, the contents of this package has been delivered directly to
I
me.
know.
And it's just
It's
so,
just
even though it's like
fantastic.
theoretically that should be boring, right? But it is just so interesting to hear him
You know,
listen to that.
it's Jeff Goldblum. He's the perfect person to do a will reading. I'll contact him
I want
if
that
need
in
him.
my will. This can only be read by
Jeff Goldblum.
By Jeff
I wonder if he would do it.
Goldblum.
I wonder if he would do it. He probably would. He seems like the type of guy who'd be like, yes, obviously. And then,
He'll
Yeah,
come in
that
like
would
the
be
full
great.
costume too, just for you.
oh my god. Well, yeah.
That's interesting. Ian McKellen, like, because of Lord of the Rings last week,
Oh,
he
yeah.
said like someone asked him to be Gandalf for his wedding and like marry them, and
Yeah.
he didn't do it, right?
I know. That's sad.
Because he
I
said
would
Gandalf
totally
doesn't
want
do
that.
weddings.
What?
Aw.
Gandalf would so do weddings. Are you kidding
He
me?
definitely would.
Did you even know what character that you play? He's the type of guy who would totally do that. And then he would tear the dance floor down afterwards and just be amazing.
Fireworks, man, all
He's
night.
he's a party guy. He would totally do that. Whatever came over. Don't use
That's so
excuses.
sad.
We still love you, Ian McKellen. Still love
I know.
you.
I still love you, McCallum. Whatever. But But
Yeah, so the second watch of the Grand Budapest was kind of like in the dorms with everyone in like a common room. So it was up on the screen and everyone was like, of course, freaking out. So Jeff Goldblum, like, hell yeah. And then Willem Dafoe, like that hunting scene, we were all so hyped. He's like, this guy's the Terminator. He can't be stopped.
he
and
is
then
crazy.
It
That's
ends with
awesome.
like the door cutting his fingers off in the most
I
like
know.
violent
Yes.
way.
It like that. It's so cool. I love it. I love him. I also
They just
really
snap
love
off.
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, they just snap off because it's like a metal door.
Well,
Like,
no,
ah,
yeah,
my
your
fingers.
would snap off if it was
Yeah.
a metal door and you slammed it hard
I know,
enough.
but I think
And Jeff
the
Goldblum
sound
gives a
the
great
sound
scream.
effect was so funny to me.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Oh yeah,
I
he
love
does give a good scream.
Love
Yeah.
that.
But just that whole
I think,
museum
like-
sequence is a great scene.
It
with
is.
the lighting.
Mhm. It's
I
also
really
just
love
like a
that.
prime example of like every motion in a Wes Anderson film is so like snappy and quick and like rushed almost. Like everyone's in a hurry to get things done too.
Mhm.
Just like everything that happens in it. I think that was like one of the things that obviously that was done. It was so funny. It just like him just like it just like everything goes silent and then the fingers snap off and then he screams and then that's it. So perfect. I
And then
love it.
Willem
There's
Dafoe
like no
comes out,
time
packs up his
wasted ever.
fingers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great point. No time wasted. The movie's only 100 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It packs a lot. I
Really
thought it'd be
short.
like his like 2.5 hour epic of a film.
Me
Like this is
too.
peak Wes Anderson. But
it
no,
doesn't need
it's
to be.
it's 100 minutes. Because if you think about it, like 4 timelines over the span of like 100 years, you'd
Yeah.
expect like this like 2 hour epic, but it's only
Yeah.
100 minutes, which is really
And I feel
nice.
like the like tone of it being so like all the characters act very like fast paced and the story goes very fast is one of the reasons why it works as 100 minutes. Because if it didn't have that rapid energy throughout it, it would just feel so really like rushed, but not in a good way. Because I feel like a lot of other films like try to do so much in so little time, and it just does not come across. But because of that fast-paced energy going throughout all of it, it just works so well, and it's great. It's such an easy watch. Just put it on, chill for 100 minutes, and then you're good. It's great.
I agree, and I think it really plays, at least for me, it really plays into like the comical value as well too. Like it's just so
Yeah.
funny watching these people have this like it's like a chaotic organization of
I love
people
chaos.
trying to get this thing done. And it's just so like fun to watch them all like work together but so quickly and so like frantically because they're running out of time, but it's so wonderful like every single time. You never feel like you're watching them in the process of something for too long. They just get it done, and that adds to like Wes Anderson's like straightforward storytelling methods too, which I think is so fun and I love it. And it's because I think it also works because like his plot points are so strong. Like they're not very every single thing that happens is a reason why it happens, and the reason why it happens is pretty much explained in the movie too. So you're never really confused, and that's why everything hits the mark so well, because he's able to do it so straightforward and do it so quickly, and it doesn't really need a whole lot of like, this is the process of this happening and this is why it's happening. He just like sets it forth in front of you, so you know exactly like what's going on. You never really like question why. And I think that's just so, I feel like that's difficult for a lot of people to just get it across that way, but also his style makes it so easy to follow with all of that, which is awesome. And it makes me so happy because I look back on it, I'm like, that was so clever and that was so easy for him to just lay it all out there for you and for you to like understand this story, and it's wonderful.
I feel like
makes me so
a big
happy.
reason for that is narration. It's because there's always like a guide to bring you through the story, whether it be Jude Law or Zero or older Jude Law, who's played. How come I can't remember the
Older
actor's name?
Jude Law.
I apologize. Yeah, Jude Law the
Jude
older
Law.
Jude Law.
Let me look at who is it?
No, I must find out. It's like Tom something,
Oh,
right? Tom Wilkinson.
Wilkinson. Yeah.
Tom Wilkinson as the old author,
Author.
who's technically dead at the start of the movie. Just love it. I love the
Yeah.
layered stories. When I thought I'd be like annoying to me again, it's like Wes Anderson just get to the movie, but the end just like blew me away this time. Just the way it just
Yeah.
cut from life to life. Like it was kind of like Inception when they like wake everyone up at the end and it's like you go through each
Oh,
layer.
good moment.
That was
That's
like
a
the
good
ending of-
explanation, actually.
That was like the end of
Yeah.
this movie. It was just like layer, and then at the end
Layer,
with
layer.
unnamed
Never.
girl at graveyard reading book on the Grand Budapest, and it's just like, that's kind of like life in a way.
Yeah.
So pretentious, but that's just stories, and that's how they work. Yeah, the movie says it was based off the writings of an author.
Oh.
I don't know who it is. Didn't do any research, so should
Oh,
have brought
his
it up.
name
but-
was. Hold on, I will find it.
Yeah, I was expecting, because I was expecting like directed by Wes Anderson, like When I Cut the Black Button, and then the credits start off with inspired by the writings of like a Polish name, or am I just being racist here? Sorry.
Oh no, it was something Weiss.
Cool. I'll definitely look into that. That's an interesting rabbit hole to go down, because I feel like what inspired it, like, were his writings like short stories
Oh,
that gave off like a
Stefan
whimsical
Zweig.
vibe?
Stefan Zweig, I think that's how you say his name.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah, or did the
like Monsieur
author have, like, a
Gustave's
journey?
character. Yeah, it's inspired by his books, The Post Office Girl, and yeah, just like taken from and Beware of Pity.
Also, just to correct, Stefan Zweig was an Austrian novelist, playwright, and journalist, and biographer.
Cool.
Cool.
And his height of his literacy career was in the 1920s and 30s. Ooh.
Nice.
Is that when, like, that's when the movie takes place, like the main film, like the
I believe
30s?
so.
Yeah, like the rise of fascism, in a way. The war is such a big part. I think it's like how the war even affects every bit of life. Really cool. Even though it's so comedic, the hotel shootout scene. Can
But
we
it's
get
so
to?
pretty.
It is so pretty. Can we get to favorite scenes? Unless you guys have any more
Oh,
performances
God.
you want to shout out.
I can't say a favorite
God.
scene. There's too many good ones.
Oh, one scene that I noticed that this time around was so funny to me, and then I read a fun fact about it, and I was like, "That's hilarious." The part when after all of the prisoners that were trying to escape have come out of like the gutter, and they're all like talking to each other and stuff, and then Harvey Keitel's character is like he's like he tells him he has to leave, and then his last like remarks he says to Mr. Gustav, and then the last thing he does to like Zero is he just like slaps him and then he leaves, and he's like good luck kid or whatever. Apparently that scene was shot 42 times, and every single time
Ow.
Harvey Keitel actually slapped Tony Revolori. So he was slapped 42
Love the
times.
dedication. Love it.
And like this time
Who
around
wouldn't
when I
be
was
wanting
watching it,
something
I had to rewatch that scene so many times because I thought it was so funny. Like his reaction was nothing. Tony's reactions are so funny because
I
he
think
has
he
to,
was
like,
like desensitized at that point. He's like, bro,
Yeah.
I've been slapped 42 times.
It's numb. It got numb after number 13. We're just, we're still going. I love that.
Yeah, but it's
That's
also
so funny.
kind of like part of Zero's character of like not really having
Yeah.
a real reaction to anything happening to, because he kind of doesn't feel like he has the right to have a reaction because he's just like this side person that's receiving all of this stimulus and has to like go along with everything.
He's
So-
true neutral.
He's so good.
He's like, I think he's like a true good.
Yeah, I guess you're. No.
Because he
think
like
maybe-
he's the one who's like, let's steal the painting, but like it was rightfully theirs, given down
Yeah.
by. So
Yeah, that's true.
No, yeah, but I think that's what makes him true neutral.
Neutral, yeah.
Okay, fine.
I think I was gonna say I feel like the movie is chaotic neutral, but I take it back. I think the movie is chaotic good.
I agree. It is.
Yeah.
No,
it
the
was
whole
hard-
movie boils down to like Gustav's line, like there's still humanity in this
Yeah,
barren
chaotic
world.
good,
Mhm.
which is great because I just I love thinking about what type of, because I love the whole chaotic true neutral like spectrum.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that. And
Oh, the memes
this
for
movie
those are great.
is just chaotic good, which I'm also a chaotic good, so that makes so much sense why I love this movie.
Mm.
Yes. Yes.
I already shouted out the hotel shootout scene, which is kind of my favorite scene. It's just so ridiculous, and it makes so much sense. All these soldiers are here, and they'll have guns, so it's bound to happen. And then Owen Wilson's just great in this part too. He's like the concierge, so he's like dropped into the scenario, and suddenly everyone's shooting themselves.
I love Owen
Um,
Wilson
yeah,
so much.
I'll also give a shout out to the will reading scene. Adrian Brody, his performance is kind of like over the top for me, but I enjoyed watching it either way. And just when he comes and he's just like cussing out Ray Fiennes, and then they punch each other in the face. Ending with Willem Dafoe first asserting his power. That's a great scene too. And I mentioned Jeff Goldblum's will reading earlier. That was great. Yeah.
I think the second part after when he's like arguing with the whoa, I just blanked. What was his name? With Jeff Goldblum's character, and like Jeff Goldblum is like, in this case, I represent the deceased, and then he's like, he just like walks away, and then Willem Dafoe throws his cat out the window.
A
That's
dead
a
animal
good
in a
one.
Wes Anderson film.
Love it.
Did you just throw my cat out the window?
And then all
Um,
of a sudden, just like, oh, I don't know, did he? Oh,
I sent the
when
I sent
you
the
said
meme
that,
earlier.
I thought you meant she was sincere about that. It was like, oh, did he? And I was like, you saw the what? And then I realized it was sarcasm. But
oh my god.
The sisters. I don't. It was like they weren't fully related. It was some weird like relationship. Those three. It was interesting. Yeah, but I like Brody's freakout scene where he notices the painting's gone and he just slams it down. The replacement picture, which is such a funny image. It's like great choice as a picture.
there's just there's too much good in this movie. Like there's too many great
yes.
scenes. Like I said earlier, I would frame every bit of this movie. And yeah, I don't know. There's just so many. Oh, I love the
You'd frame the shot of the like old man getting showered down at the old Budapest hotel. Do you remember that? They're in the bath.
No. Wait, actually, wasn't the background pretty?
I mean, it was like a
Not
shower
really.
room.
No,
I don't know.
feel
It was
like
kind of
was.
like.
Let me see.
I feel like it wasn't pretty on purpose because it's supposed to show this place is run down and old, and only old people go here.
Yeah, but old places can look pretty.
Old places can look pretty. I feel like most pretty places are old.
I agree. 1 second.
Yeah.
But another scene, I like. Oh, the chase scene at the end. It's great.
The ski one.
Yeah, I like it.
The ski
It's
one's
funny.
lovely.
It's pretty.
It's a
I
little
also
too
like the
quirky
monk.
for me, but I see the enjoyment. It's
Yeah.
Too quirky. You don't
It's
like
like-
the miniatures?
it's like a weird animation. It's like you wanted to do a stop motion like chase. Whatever.
But at the hotel is also. So like you didn't like that? The
Yeah.
shots of the ski lift and then the little thing going up. I don't know what it's called.
No,
like
I'm
it's
talking
chrome or
about. I'm
something.
specifically referring to the sledding down.
I know, but it was
scene.
the same style
As what?
as what they at the oh my gosh, as the miniature that they use for the hotel itself, like the exterior, not for the inside, and the little like ski lift.
car
going
going
up.
up.
To it. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's a pretty shot, but it's like not. It's more of an establishing shot than like an actual scene.
Yeah, whatever.
No, because it's supposed to be like this moment of tension, but it's played for comedy, which is it's fine. I feel like the best part of that scene for me is when Gustav's hanging off the cliff and he's like saying his last words, and then he's abruptly cut off when Zero pushes Defoe off the cliff, and he's like, "Oh fuck, Zero, thank you."
Yeah,
so much."
exactly. See, that seems funny. Yeah, no, I just.
I
like
think
it.
his whole thing about like using poetry in all of these really hilarious moments is just so fun to me too. Like his need to just like have things be poetic, even when he's in jail, even when he's hanging off a cliff, in all of these moments when he's trying to like console Tilda Swinton's character too. I just think like the use of poetry in all of this is so funny.
Oh, also, I just like to say, I think the scene where the jail person is chopping all the stuff is one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Because it's so cute when he opens the package and he's like, oh, and he can't cut it because it's so beautiful. And I'm like, oh. And that,
Even though
the
it's
jail
shaped like a
scene-
hammer.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys have seen Paddington 2, but the whole jail
Oh
scene
yeah,
in
I
Grand
was like-
Budapest is the equivalent of Paddington 2 jail scene. Like all of the jail, and I just love it so much. I love it. I love both of them.
I
very
haven't
much.
seen Paddington 2, but I understand what you're saying. I know,
know-
the scene you're talking about.
Stylistically and also just like tonally,
It-
I feel like they're
essen-
both very similar.
Yeah, it's a wholesome person being dropped into a unwholesome
Yes.
place and turning it around.
Oh man, and that's where the biggest tearjerker is in Paddington 2. Just start sobbing thinking about it. Yeah. That movie's great. Everyone should watch Paddington too. It's really good. But yeah. But I like that scene. I think that's fun. I just like the jails. I like all of Grand Budapest. It's hard for me to pick a favorite scene.
Yeah,
I think
for
the shootout in the hotel, like you were saying, is probably one of my favorites. But then also I just love all of it. So it's hard to pick. But yeah.
I know you just said you loved it, but does anyone have any like nitpicks they want to say right now, or are we just gonna chill at the hotel and just
We're just
enjoy
chilling
all
at the
of it?
hotel. We're enjoying.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're just enjoying it
Cool.
because I don't think I have anything really to say. I love it. It's
Cool.
one of my favorites.
Yeah. Another fun fact, if you guys want. You probably know this, but like everyone stayed at the hotel that they shot at. And they would have their makeup and everything done in the lobby of the hotel so that like they had like a sense of urgency to like get it all done because they only had like 8 hours of natural light to work with every day too.
Oh wow.
So
Where'd they film
yeah,
it?
so Germany. It was this hotel called Hotel Borsch in Gorlitz, Germany.
Yeah, I remember seeing like they had to look for like a hotel that fit the vibe, and they finally like found it after.
I remember.
I didn't know they
and
stayed
not
at that
really-
hotel. That makes sense. That
Yeah,
makes
that's-
sense
Yeah,
that
they
they would
did.
stay at. That's a
This
cool.
is
Yeah,
not
and
related,
the
but it's
hotel
kind of
owner was also the hotel owner was
No, no, you're
also
good.
like an extra in several of the scenes. But yeah.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Good for him.
fun.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I was gonna say this is unrelated, kind of, but I was talking to my my granny the other day, and I mentioned the Grand Budapest, and when I said that, she was like, "Oh, I hate that movie," and I went, "Why?" And she's like, "Oh, I haven't seen it. I just went to Budapest, and it was gross." And I was like, "Okay," and I think that's just a funny story.
Aw.
You should show her the
Granny
Grand Budapest Hotel.
She probably would enjoy it. She would actually. She loves all the actors in it.
That's
So,
awesome.
but it
yeah.
came up into my head. I don't know.
So
I don't
cool.
have any complaints. I love it. It's so
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of Wes Anderson's whole filmography, do you guys think French Dispatch could outpeak this movie in Wes Anderson-ness? Because I feel like it's trying
Yeah.
for it with three. It seems like 3 separate newspaper stories, and then that has their own report that they're going through, and then the cast of actors is like just as large, if not bigger, than this film. And there's like black and white too.
I love.
I
that
believe.
movie, Yeah. I feel like. Yes.
You think it can? You think it can out, or do you think
so.
Wes Anderson's reached his like peak of style, and it might seem like excessive now?
Oh man. I don't know.
Tough.
Yeah, it's a tough question.
What do you
I
think,
don't know.
JJ?
I think it can be topped, but I don't see it being as good. Does that make any sense? I feel like you can. I feel like it would be excessive. I guess that's what I'm saying. I feel like the Grand Budapest
okay.
was the peak of, because like I wouldn't even consider Grand Budapest my favorite. As I said before, I think Moonrise Kingdom is my favorite.
I love
'Cause-
Moonrise Kingdom. Hell yeah.
I feel like not every set, like every location in that movie is like perfectly crafted, and it
No.
feels like a storybook world in that sense. And I
Exactly.
really enjoyed that, like fleeting like childhood memories
So
and like Boy
beautiful.
Scouts and all that. And I would consider that my favorite, but I would need to rewatch that again. But
I
yeah, so
agree.
I don't think I feel like French Dispatch might be pouring it on a little thick. Even casting Timothy Chalamet, it's like he's going for like
Yeah.
that style, man. He's like going all out.
Why? Tell me why him casting Timothy
Tell me
Chalamet is my
why.
literal only doubt. It's my only doubt that this will not be as good as Grand Budapest.
Oh no, I agree with that.
Like I don't know why, but him being in it makes me feel like nah, it's gonna be over the
I have
top.
the unpopular opinion of thinking that Timothy Chalamet is just an okay actor. He's fine.
Uh-oh.
In what I've
Nah,
seen,
I
him
don't
in,
think so.
He's fine. I think he's okay.
Parvati, you should have picked Call Me By Your Name, and then we would have had a whole discussion. Because
Yeah.
Emma
Hey,
doesn't
we
like
can
it.
do this on another season too.
I just don't. I don't know. That's why, like, but yeah, whatever.
He'd probably just do that Wes Anderson, like at least like that level of Wes Anderson acting.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. It's the vibe. Like you can't be like too
Just
dramatic, but you can't be bad.
You know what? I think the reason why I feel like Timothy Chalamet being in it is because Timothy Chalamet is trending right now, and I feel like he hasn't built up this like personality outside of movies, or he has. But like, it's not enough to be like, when you see Bill Murray on screen, you're gonna get excited, you know. But when you see Timothy Chalamet on screen, you're like, oh, what character is he playing this time? You get what I'm saying?
You don't get excited when you see Bill Murray?
I do
always
get excited when I see Bill Murray
Bill
because it's like,
Okay.
oh, it's Bill Murray, or like, oh, it's Owen Wilson. We know who they are as
I love
people.
Owen Wilson.
You know what
You don't think? I think Timothy Chalamet has that already, and he's eclipsed those two actors as of right now. Like he's the trending thing, and he's like,
I don't know. Like, I feel like for me, I'm still gonna think he's playing a character versus like being Timothy Chalamet, which is like what
Isn't
I look
that
forward
good?
to. I feel like maybe.
no. The fear is that
Depends
he
on how big
turns
his role
into.
is, though.
I feel like he's like a big role in this movie. He's like one of the
Dang,
top
okay.
bills.
I don't want that.
If he's
I
a
really
big role,
don't want
I
that.
feel like it'll be fine. But if it's like one of those like we're adding them in for the sake of having other cool actors in it, that I don't know if I like it.
Also, that's how I feel. To me, that's what it feels like. Is they're just trying to get a new wave of people to go and see Wes Anderson's films, so they got Timothy Chalamet to be in it. And first of all, that's kind of sucks for him as an actor that they kind of just used him. But
we don't know that. But I feel
I
like
know,
Timothy
but
is actively
I just- Oh, yeah.
searching out talented directors. Like he's
Yeah,
worked
that's
with
true.
Nolan, he's worked with Villeneuve,
Yeah,
he's
but
worked with
I don't know.
Wadanicho. I don't know how to say his name. He's worked with Gerwig. So
Yeah.
he's. I feel like
Gerwig.
he's actively searching for these talented directors.
That's true. Also, Saoirse's in this too, right?
I
Yeah,
love her.
Saoirse is
I
in
know,
this,
she
but I
is-
don't think she's gonna
Okay.
have as big of a role.
I know, but she's in it, and the shot of her in the trailer is beautiful, and I love her. So I'm just really excited. Like, when I saw her in the trailer, I screamed and I showed it to my mom because she also loves her.
I just
Because-
hope.
I wonder who
Yeah.
Tony plays. I want to know who Tony plays.
But yeah, was he not in the
Yeah.
trailer? We gotta watch the trailer.
He wasn't, but he's. I don't think so. I don't remember him. I have to
I gotta
rewatch
rewatch
it now.
I just hope Saoirse and Timothy don't have a scene together. Then it's
I
like
agree.
this is like your
Yeah.
5th movie together, guys.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's like because it's like I feel like it's 3 different stories, and that will
Mhm.
be each reporter reporting their story to Bill Murray as the head of the French Dispatch. That's my prediction for the French Dispatch. Hopefully it's good.
I
I'm
have
excited.
really high hopes for parts of it. From what I've seen, it looks good. Like, visually, obviously, I feel like that part of it was not going to be the worrisome part of it, you know? But all we can hope for is that the story is riveting. But, you know, I'll
The
stay
black and white
positive.
looks good. It looks like a
Oh, it looks
like
so
a
good.
French New Wave type of influence.
It looks so good.
Just to shout out the people at 22 West, like Ronan, who are not excited, I think. Or they think it's like, should Wes Anderson try something else? We could end off on this. Like, do you guys think he should try, like, a different kind of style? Or, like, do you think his style has become too much or too,
If he's,
like...
but the way I view it is, I don't think he wants to, and it's all up to him. He's
Well,
the
obviously it's
director.
all
he
up to
has
him.
his choice. I think I like that he hasn't really. I mean, he's perfected his style, but he
Yeah, I
doesn't
feel like
need
there's-
to change it. I think I like the way it is because it doesn't need to be anything else. And if he changed his style, I'd be so sad because I just love his style so much that I don't want to see it change. But I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
think
there's
I
also
think
the
like that
problem
kind
of,
of.
like... Oh, sorry. Oversaturation. I just wanted to say that. Like, what if there's, like, too much of it? Or what if he tries to step out of his comfort zone just a little bit? I don't know. That's just questions I'm putting out. Sorry,
I
cut
feel
you off.
like I don't know. I feel like that kind of argument also relies on like personal preference too. Like I personally don't. I haven't seen a lot of his films anyway, so I am not sick of his style at all. And I think it definitely works for like someone like me who enjoys plots that are told in a way that it's just so entertaining on so many different levels, and it's just so beautiful to look at. So I don't think that that's a thing that I would want him to change, because if someone can make movies like that consistently that have similar elements that make a movie so good with the types of plots that he does, then I think it works. Of
Yeah.
course, it
I don't
depends on,
think
like,
his
what type of
plots are
story.
his style, though. I don't think, like, oh, it's
No,
a
no,
Wes
no.
Anderson
What I'm saying
plot.
is the way that he carries out plots, though. The way that he carries them out versus like other directors and things too. Like I feel like the way that he does it in a way that makes it more interesting than somebody else might have for me, which is why I think it works for me at least. And that's why I don't think he needs to necessarily change his style. But if someone was particularly bored with his style or felt like it needed changing, then I think that that's kind of up to personal preference, but I don't think he needs to change it. Yeah.
Same.
That's just me.
His
Cool.
style's in my brain what I like most about cinema in general, so I wouldn't want it to change. I like it.
Yeah, and I also I don't think people do things similar as like close to what he does either, so I feel that he's pretty unique in the way that he does things too.
I think there's been like a wave of like impersonators.
I agree.
Like I've seen like
most
who
indie films are
yeah,
so
they're trying to get that
blatant rip-offs.
quirkiness of Wes Anderson.
Which is completely fine, and sometimes it comes across good, but other times it's just ooh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
But it
I will say
depends.
this: I did really like Isle of Dogs because I felt like that it was his style infused with like a different culture, which some people are like, it's like controversial. You can't do that, but like I enjoyed it a lot
I really
because
like
it seemed like a new like alleyway into his style, Isle of Dogs, with the whole Japanese influence. So I think like things like that are interesting, but I feel like in French Dispatch it's like French New Wave. I feel like that's kind of already in his lane in a way.
Yeah.
But you know,
That's
I'm
different.
excited still, of course, and I'll go watch it if theaters are hopefully open by then. It's next year, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Gosh.
okay, we got time.
We
I
got
didn't
time.
know when it was supposed to come out. I kind of just I didn't forget about it.
It was
I knew
supposed to come out in
always-
July.
Yeah. But then they said a new date, right? But I just
Yeah.
didn't remember it. Didn't stick in my head, which is fine. It's all good. It'll be even
Yeah.
more exciting when it comes out. Or even more disappointing. That's why what you were saying about Tenet earlier, which I think is hilarious, because the anticipation that people have felt is either going to make or break the movies that are coming out post pandemic. And I'm so excited to see a bunch of films that are either really great or really disappointing. I think it's funny. I don't know.
It is funny.
I
think,
hope
and
they're not
that's why.
disappointing.
But also, I wouldn't mind it if they were, because I think that's funny. To me, that's like, oh, look at all these losers just hoping for Tenet to come out, and then it's bad and people are so upset about it. That's hilarious. I love that. I think that's funny. Because it's like...
But I'm not rooting for a movie to be bad. I want
No,
all
I'm
the
never
movies.
rooting for a movie to be bad. I really want, I really wanted Tenet to be good. I haven't seen Tenet. Maybe he still is good. Maybe people are really overly critical because everyone's angry right now, but we don't know.
Emma made a great shrug. That was a hell of a shrug. That it's not going to be
I threw my whole
translated well
body
with the
into
podcast.
that. That was a Mr. Gustav shrug.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Oh, also
So-
before we end this, I just wanted to shout out the score in this movie and also Fantastic Mr. Fox. But this one was wonderful.
Alexander
I
Desplat
want it-
is my
I
favorite
want it.
composer of all time. I have so many of his scores on vinyl because I love him so
Yes.
much. He is incredible because he takes a score and he makes it something different every time. It's not your quintessential orchestral score. It's always unique, and he plays with so many different instruments, and I love that so much. I really love Alexander Desplat. He's amazing.
There's some movies that I'm like, wow, this score was actually really interesting. Who was it by? Alexander Desplat.
Yeah.
And it sounds so completely different, like completely different styles. Like he did
He's
the
so
last Harry
good.
Potter movie, but he did this movie too, which is so interesting to me because they just feel like completely different styles. And yeah. Also,
Such a
the little
talented person.
you know the little like tone that you hear in between where it like plays a melody. It's like ding 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 ding. So apparently it's played by this really rare instrument called the balalaika, and it's like this triangular 3-string instrument. And
Wow.
yeah, so like
Whoa, how?
yeah,
How does that work?
I don't know.
Wait,
Emma just fell back into her chair and just started imagining an instrument. Like, this is not a joke.
has 3
Like,
strings. How do they? Oh,
How do they
I have to look
strum?
this up. I have to look this up later because that's weird. But also, no composer could ever compare to that.
Exactly.
That's so cool. Is
Yeah,
it just,
and it was-
But also, I feel like Alexander Desplat is the equivalent of Wes Anderson in the composing world, is what I feel. and I just
Well,
love it.
Wes Anderson was like, he was there when they were recording all of it too, because he wanted to be, and it was recorded by like a few dozen musicians from France and Russia, and it was recorded in Paris, which I think is that's so cool to hear that all of these people came in Paris, recorded this wonderful score. Yeah.
Great shout out. Yeah, I totally didn't even mention that. It's a great score.
Incredible score on vinyl.
I want
I love
this
it.
score.
It's my baby.
Oh, I'm jealous. Wait, is it
So
like
good.
pink? What's the color of the vinyl, or is it just normal?
Oh no, the one I have is not colored, but that's okay.
Oh, okay.
But I think you can get colored ones. I don't know. But yeah.
My last thing on Wes Anderson, it's a disappointment for this film. I think it doesn't have an accompanying short film
Oh
to it,
yeah.
like Moonrise
What the
Kingdom or like
hell?
Darjeeling
Was-
Limited.
What?
And I feel, which is kind of a missed opportunity. I think. I feel like he has a world built with all his, especially with his newer films. Like there's a clear world that's here with many characters with many stories, and I think he capitalizes off that with these short films. Yeah, this doesn't have one, but it's fine. But I just feel like it's a missed opportunity. But that's a credit to Wes Anderson for building such a solid like world with characters that feel really original in each of his films. So yeah.
Definitely.
Did you have anything else to say, Emma, or are we Gucci?
I don't know. I would like to see the last two films that I haven't seen of his. I'll get around to that probably this month, because I remembered recently that I was like, oh wow, I really haven't seen those two, and I've been wanting to so bad. Maybe I'll just rent them, I guess.
Be sure to share it on the show if you do watch them.
Definitely, I will. Yeah.
Speaking of the show, pardon
Wow,
me.
good transition.
JJ with the transition.
Sick transition. Come on, that was smooth. Come on, that's like a 5 out of
Okay.
10.
That was a reach. That was a
Speaking
little
of
bit
films,
How's that a
and
reach?
podcasts,
It's just so. It's just so basic. It's not creative at all.
See, you only notice a bad segue.
That's true.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
true. And we.
Anyways,
noticed it.
pardon me. Speaking of a
yeah,
bad
so-
segue,
That sounds like you're calling me a bad segue.
No, he's calling me. That's an insult. That's a funny insult. You're such a bad segue. Ow.
I would think of the scooter then.
I
If
do
someone called me a
too.
big
I do
segue.
too. It's just one that only goes in a circle, and you can't actually go straight.
That sounds fun though, if it only goes in a circle.
But that defeats the purpose.
Obviously,
of
it
a
defeats the
segue.
purpose of the segue, but I mean, at least
Yes,
it's
it
better than
does.
no segue.
Whatever. Anyways.
Our
yeah.
our movie
Oh my
next week
God.
is Paul Blart Mall Cop 1 and 2 with the segue.
Wow,
Just kidding,
I'm
that's
so
not true.
excited. No, I was kidding.
Wow, can you imagine? Oh my god, we would actually talk about Paul Blart.
I mean,
That's
I've
so
suggested The Last
exciting.
Airbender, so all movies are on the table.
Mm.
All movies are available.
You're right.
But speaking of
Um,
movies,
Oh god.
speaking
Oh,
of
God.
all movies,
Okay, I'm gonna just say it so that you don't have to keep saying really bad segue. But yes, our next guest for next week is Alexander Nguyen, the wonderful cinematographer boy that we all know and love. It is his turn to talk about a movie, and his suggestion for this week is this film called Burning, by Lee
mhm,
Chae-dong. Yes, it's a Korean and English film, I believe, and it's on Netflix, and I'm very excited because I've heard lots of good things about this. So, yeah, very excited.
I'm
Cool.
looking at the poster. Oh yes, I've
it's
seen
the kids like
poster.
jumping, I think, into
Yes.
like yeah.
Okay, because
Have you guys
when
seen it
you
before?
said it.
No, I've
No,
not.
no. But I've seen the poster.
Yeah, I've heard good things. Yeah, excited. I'm happy he
Cool.
suggested it. Another foreign film. Let's
Yay.
go.
Yeah. Woo. Love it.
Did he ever respond about the thingy? Or nah?
He did not, so I guess
Okay,
you're
cool.
gonna just do it.
No, we'll see. We'll see if he says yes. Then we'll reply.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Now
Okay.
we'll say bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye,
Okay. So
Craig.
like,
Oh, we have to
there's
bye,
probably
Craig.
there's probably just a really weird edit, and then now it's just us saying bye, Craig.
Bye, Craig.
Bye, Craig.
audio here heard it, so.
Sorry,
whatever.
Craig didn't hear it.
Craig disappoints me.
Why would you say that?
Because I can't. Oh, wow.
You can cut that part out. Cut that part out.
No,
Okay, bye,
I was gonna
Craig.
cut this that past conversation out. This is probably gonna go at the end of the
Oh,
episode
okay,
now.
okay.
Oh, hi end of the episode.